you remember the parable of the talents, the owner or the master wasn't really concerned about who had what. What he was concerned about is that they managed what they had. So this topic of keeping organized or budgeting your time, tasks, and money is huge. And I personally have always hated the word budget. I don't like to sit down and plan my budget. Now there's people like Brother Savory, they love budgets. They're 3 years out in their budget. And of course, you can plan way ahead and not follow your budget. In between, it's like if you will budget doesn't just mean spreadsheets. It means decide what's important when and how you're going to spend your time, how you're going to spend your energy, and how you're going to spend your money. There's just two little things that I'm going to give you up front here that may not seem like big things. I said little, they're little big things, all right? The first is I've learned over the years to work off a calendar. Now, those of you who don't like calendars, you don't want to keep a daytime or what, that kind of stuff. Again, I know there's some personalities that just don't want to be bothered. But if nothing is guiding your ship, if you don't have a calendar, you miss a meeting, and then you miss the meeting, then this over here doesn't happen, and then like if you're trying to build a house without a calendar or without organizing your contractors, you've got complete chaos. And the second thing is work off a to-do list. This is something that I've done for years. My to-do list is kind of complicated because I have a to-do list personally. I have a to-do list for II Ministries. I have a to-do list for the district. And so all of those are on one page, but I can look at the things I need to do. So every day, I glance at my calendar to make sure I'm not supposed to be getting a tooth pulled or something. And then I also look at my to-do list saying, now what are the major things coming up? The more you do, the more this is necessary. In my case, since my life is multifaceted in that I do district work, plus I do different things for the church, and it's not always the same. If I didn't write these things down, I would be like a chicken with my head cut off. So it helps you with things like this. If you have a to-do list, you can actually do some of what my wife's going to suggest, and I can write down, for example, what I need to do. I need to go to Home Depot. At Home Depot, what do I need to get? I need to get this, this, and this. If I don't do that, I go to Home Depot, and 10 minutes later, it's like, oh, yeah, I should have gotten that at Home Depot. So it's back to Home Depot, an hour round trip, and then you get home, and, oh, yeah, I need that too. And that may not seem like very much, but in one day, that could cost you an hour or two. And that's your time you never get back. So getting organized, I'm just giving you a big idea, and I'm not going to preach on it, but it not only helps you save time, but it helps you move in a direction. How many of you here would consider yourself procrastinators? About half of you? Okay. A to-do list holds you accountable. I know I don't want to do that, but it's on my to-do list, so I'm going to make myself go through this list and get it done. I don't know about you, but there's a great satisfaction in checking it off or taking it off the to-do list and working through it. And when you do that, you can also reward yourself. I'm going to do these 3 things, and then I'm going to take a break. Whereas if you don't know what you're going to do, you'll just take a break. And then you'll feel bad all through the break because you know you're getting behind and you're probably not going to get it done. And then it's like, oh, don't worry about it. Another thing to organize is your documents, your texts, your emails. Some of you, I know, aren't organized because you've said, you sent me something 2 weeks ago, could you? But if you take your emails, for example, every email that I get, I handle it once, okay? I leave it up there if it needs to remind me, but I'll handle it. I'll put it somewhere so I have multiple folders. If it's a district thing, I'll put it there. If it's a church thing, I'll put it there. If it's business, if it's a receipt, I'll put it there. And then if 2 weeks later, it's like, well, how much did I pay for that such and such? Well, then I go to my receipts and I search for such and such, and boom, there it is. I can find anything. In my sermons, I have thousands of sermons on my computer, and if I go in there now and search, I remember preaching about whales one time. Go put in whales, it'll bring up all the sermons that have to do with whales, and I can go right to it. But if I have all my sermons on paper and I've got them stashed everywhere and anywhere, good luck finding that sermon on whales. So I want to just give you an obvious object lesson of how important and how valuable organization can be. I need 6 volunteers, right? All right, Peter, if you could come over here. It's going to be hard in this group because you're not young ones. I need 6 people who are brave enough to be volunteers. Okay, Bob, you come over here. All right, the sisters, opposite teams. We'll make it interesting. Okay, Brother Gabrielli, could you come over here? I need 1 more for over here. Okay, Brother Stefanovich. All right, so we got 3 on each team. Now, okay, now I need you guys to bet. These guys are going to do a race, right? They're going to each have the very same project to do. There's a paper bag, and in this paper bag, I'm just going to hand this to you. Don't open it right now. There are the same items as I'm giving these people, and there's an instruction sheet, okay? Now, I'm wanting you to choose a team to root for. Who do you think is going to get this done the fastest? Both have the same exact items in the bag. The instructions are a little different, but they have the same thing, and they're going to build us a robot, right? So on go, I want you just to go over there, all sit on the step, or sit on the floor, whatever you want to do. Probably steps easier. Dump out the contents, and these guys are going to start cheering for you, okay? And we're going to see who gets done first. Ready? Go. We have a robot right now. They're done. It looks exactly like I expected. Keep going. Are you done? Do you have any extra pieces?
No.
Put yours. Oh, he's carrying that. I see. Yeah. Okay. He's carrying it. I don't know. Do you have any idea why this team did a little better? Your instructions in here? Here, I'll show you why they did better. These instructions were, dump out the contents of the bag, use every piece to build a robot with green hair. This one, I gave them step-by-step instructions with pictures. Thank you. I actually thought the time difference would be greater, but I don't know if they really used every piece here because this one's carrot. If you don't get just simply organized like that, you do have to cheat sometimes, and you settle for things, and you're not quite as efficient. So what we're appealing to you is not like you better do this so we're approving of you. It's more like do yourself a favor and budget yourself. Do yourself a favor and hold yourself accountable to these different things like a calendar and a to-do. So my wife, who's a pro at organization, is going to come give you some suggestions. And the thing that I feel to warn you about is some of us who aren't prone to this kind of thing, it's easier to say, oh, I'm just not an organized person. But if you'll be open, maybe she'll throw out a few things that you can actually apply to your life, not to please her, because it doesn't really matter if your house is dirty. What matters is if her house is dirty. That's going to drive her crazy. But maybe just a tip or two that'll make a lot of difference. Let's give her an ear to hear. I was going to segue exactly where Bob did. When I went to work with my dad, he was an electrician at a refinery, and they issued me a tool belt, and then I thought it was so stupid, but they told me, okay, now put your tape here and put this here and put there, and it's like, who cares where I put whatever? But when you actually got to working, when you're doing whatever, you need a screwdriver, you just reach for where you know the screwdriver is. But if you lay that down then and go to working, then you're looking for the screwdriver, and that might be 2 minutes, but 2 minutes every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes, adds up. So watch what businesses do, because they're trying to get the most out. They're after that efficiency. Well, your life is just as important as their efficiency. You need another 10 minutes to sleep. She just gave you 15, 20 minutes a day right there. If you did those things, you would have more time to sleep, because you wouldn't be chasing down, where did I put my pillow last, that kind of thing. So this again, and I know there's personality types, and some personality types it's almost like fingernails on a chalkboard to organize or something like that. But if you can realize how important it is, I am going to challenge you now. I'd like for each of you, whether you do it on your phone or you jot it down on your paper or whatever, I'd like for you to think over just these last 2 lessons, all the things my wife just mentioned, the things we talked about last week, what I talked about, the to-do list, the calendar, all those little things. I'd like for you to write down 3 things that you are going to attempt, at least, to include or adopt into your own life, right? Just right now, let the Holy Ghost move. And write down 3 practical changes you're going to make or practices you're going to adopt. I'll mention some of them again. Last week we talked about efficiency and how much time you save if you work from home. So it might be a matter of setting the alarm clock, not hitting the snooze button. It could be identifying distractions, scheduling downtime, starting things on time, limiting your meetings, using the to-do list and the calendar, being efficient like smart thermostats, on-demand water heaters, having dinner together, being to church every Sunday, being faithful to 9:30 prayer. I don't know if I've mentioned that. Doing a weekly routine, like she just said, meal plans, making every outing count, creating a place for everything, and creating a habit. Now, there's some of you that are in a later season in your life where it's time to relax a little bit. You might not be on the efficiency-making side, but you have different needs now. So it may be a matter of keeping your pills organized. Because, as young as I am, I was having some back pain a while back, so I was taking Tylenol, and I realized I don't remember if I took Tylenol 4 hours ago or 8 hours ago, and I'm thinking if I was on medications, I'd be in trouble, because I'd be doubling up or whatever. So you get those little containers again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and you load them up, and then you know whether you took it or not, because if Monday's full, well, you didn't take it. If it's empty, you did take it. Have I blabbed enough? Everybody have 3? Okay. Now, here's the real challenge, especially if you're here with family. I now want some of you, it'd be nice if, 5 or 6 of you would now declare out loud one of those things that you are going to do. So you kind of hold yourself accountable to somebody, all right? Make a meal plan, all right? Email folders. First thing in the morning. Create places for things. Now, that's something she's out of the room, so I can say this, right? That when we first got married, and even I give her a hard time when she labels our closets. It's like, but I love it because she's always moving things around, so all I have to do is look for labels. And if I was working, I've worked places, well, that's why they label things at work, because you got multiple people using it. If you think back to women's rights, I know women's rights have come a long ways, and I'm all for some of the things that happened there. But what many people don't realize is back when plantations, or when I'm not talking about slave plantations, but back when the farm was a big operation, whether it was in this country or other countries, a lot of times the women ran the house, and they would have a staff of 15, 20 people. They wouldn't, again, it wouldn't always be slaves. They would have staff, and it would be like running a small business. And so they had ledgers, and they had organization, and they had to crack the whip. A lot of people think of, I'm not in business, I just work from home. But women had to run the home like a business, because it really was a business. So when we got married, I did have some adjusting to do, because my family was more, we had a junk drawer upstairs in the kitchen at first. And then there were 2 junk drawers. And then there were 3 drunk drawers. Yeah, drunk's more like it. And then it was like, if you wanted a pencil, you checked one of those 3 drawers. It was like, look, like, you're on the phone, got a phone, yeah, let me get that. And then it's 3 minutes finding the pencil so you can get the phone number down, right? So again, that's just 90 seconds. But 90 seconds 3 times a day, 4 times a day, you're up to 2 or 3 minutes right there just finding pencils. And that's like a huge difference in my life that was kind of forced on me to make my wife happy. But now I'm a believer, because all of those things have organized my life, and we both benefit from that. That will also, you can't really put a number or a value on how much frustration and how many fights that saves in the home. And that's why, like we joked, those of you with many kids, you wish someone would tell your kids that. Well, it is worth all of the energy you put into making them do that. I used to, like I said, live in a household that was my sister's room. You couldn't even walk through it. I was the neatest one at my house, and I married my wife and thought there'd be no problem, but I was the messy one at our house when I married her. But we would be in awe when we went over to our neighbor's house, because everything was so nice. But whenever we got done playing at our neighbor's house, our neighbor's mother had the audacity to say, okay, pick up the toys. It's like, I want to go do something. Well, you're not doing anything else until you pick up the toy. It didn't matter if you were their guest in their home. That's how they had such a pristine house. They just always, if you're going to play with this toy, you put that toy away. And not only does it save you the angst, and it saves you the fights, in a way, it organizes your psyche, if I can put it that way. If you live in mess, your brain is going to be a little jumbled, right? So I want to close. You may touch on something we cover in the next 2, because we're going to give you a bunch more good tips like that next 2 times. But I want to close with just a few more of what we just did. 3 or 4 or 5 of you can share, if you were teaching this class, what would you suggest? We just heard a couple, but let's go on with that for a few minutes.
I think it's important to remember, because we've had kids in our house for 25 years, so that it's a continuing thing too. Because people come, the kids get older, or people get new hobbies or new interests, so you have new things coming in your house and things are leaving. But not to get discouraged, because it's like a constant.
Yeah. It can't be a project to complete. It's a living organism. Yeah.
And it has to be. So don't get discouraged. But sometimes, I think we all do. But I was watching some organizing videos on YouTube. There's a great woman, and she's just very realistic and down to earth. And she was saying, you start getting rid of things. Just start. She's a minimalist completely. But she said it's amazing how just start getting rid of a few things, and then you'll want to get rid of more.
Yeah.
And then you'll want to get rid of even more. And it becomes like a game of, do I really need this? No, and give it away.
Yeah. And then when you go shopping, you're not as likely to waste money on something you're going to, yeah. Yeah. Good. A couple more. Tips for organization.
I'm organizing my barn right now because I want to work out of it more. And so I'm building a wood shop and I'm finding things that I bought that I knew I had, but
Yeah.
I
Rediscovered.
half a day looking for it. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to go out and grab a new one. And so in my barn, I spent more time and money than needed.
Yeah.
If it would, but it's an ongoing thing too. So you mentioned this once about cleaning up your yard. You said, as you're going, you see something, you might just pick it up. You have to come to that too. Then it's instead of saying, well, I can pick that up when I do all the leaves. Well,
Yeah.
if you do it right then, before you know it, you don't have this huge project on your hands.
Yeah.
I don't think we've necessarily mentioned this, but I say it only because it fits in with this. And the week you started teaching this class, we had our annual sales meeting for Sprague, which is a billion-dollar company. And they had a special speaker come in, and what she talked about was something that I'm going to implement. That I have a list of things, and it grows all the time. It's on my computer, and every time I have something else, I'll have Wendy. We'll be driving down the road, and I'll be like, "Can you text me real quick? Remind me to do this, And then when I get home, I'll write it on my list and I'll add it. The problem that I had was I would go ahead and always try to be making the list short by focusing on all the little things.
Mm-hmm.
And so because I was always focusing on the little things, and the little things really never stopped.
Yeah. You're just treading water.
I never got to any of the big things.
Yeah.
Really, the ones that really actually mattered. So she was just talking about how flip it before you go to bed at night. Figure out what's the big thing.
Yeah.
What's the big thing you want to do, and then focus on that. And then once you get that done, go ahead and start working on the little ones.
Yeah. Good. Good advice.
Pretty much every day, depending on how you do it, it should be at some certain points in the day. Every meal, every break, well, preferably not every break, maybe the morning, the evening. Just take a look at the main things you really need to look at. Like, okay, wake up in the morning. First thing you do, pray, yes, but you also take a look at your list and say, okay, what do I need to do? Because, yes, you do need to pray so that you can benefit yourself spiritually, but you also need to really, you need to get
Focused.
What?
Focused.
Yeah, you need to get focused. You need to know just what is there. What is the challenges for today?
Yeah. Good. Purpose, direction.
I have one more really quick.
Sure.
I just started doing this last week because I have to clean up my basement. We don't have toys up in the living room. We have toys in shelves downstairs, but it's a mess and it's overwhelming right now. So I wrote on my calendar, it's like in the kitchen, it just says 15 minutes a day. Go down to the basement and just do something.
Yeah.
Organize this little corner, but only 15 minutes because
Yeah.
at school, I only have that much time. So,
Right.
and you'll spend 10 minutes a day, like the kids, 10 minutes a day before bed, go around, pick
Yeah.
up the toys, whatever. But you can minimize a big project and just tackle a little bit every day
Yeah.
because it will make a difference.
Yeah. And that's back to the budgeting. That's the concept behind budgeting. If I say I'm going to spend a half hour and then take 10 minutes to break, instead of just lollygagging and I don't want to do this, and you never get a break because you kind of drag that 40 minutes into just trying to get this thing done. So budgeting is, I see I got a lot to do. It's too much to do, so I'm just going to do a part of that and then reward myself. And then I'm in charge of everything. I'm not being jarred around by my procrastination or by the mess or anything. I'm taking charge.
I think one of the things I would say is give yourself grace. You're not going to get it done in a 1 week.
Yeah.
I know sometimes I would try to tackle something and be like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
And then I'd get overwhelmed and then I'd just completely stop and
Yeah.
go back to square one.
Yeah.
And I think another thing would be knowing your personality type, knowing how you function. Been reading or listening to a lot of different personality things.
Mm-hmm.
Certain people, I know, I'll say myself. For me, when I'm in the mood to clean, I'm busting it about. Don't bother me. It won't come back. It will not come back. If you stop me while I'm in the midst
Yeah,
of
it's half done.
cleaning up,
Stays half done.
you have me sit down to do something for 5 minutes, I'm not getting back up.
Yeah,
So knowing yourself,
that's good.
being able to apply it, and having if you're married, having your spouse be aware, hey, I'm in the mood,
Yeah,
I'm cleaning.
that's good.
Give me 30 minutes.
Well, we do this all the time. Kindergarten teachers budget. They know that kids are probably going to need a nap at 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, adults do too sometimes, but you plan on that. If we nap them, they'll have some good time. We'll do math at 11 or whatever. You budget that. So you're basically doing that personally.